Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
Tampa Bay Bucs Super Bowl 55 champ Shaq Barrett coming at you live for NSPN Next Gen Sports. Go like and follow NSPN for total coverage of all team and combat sports, live shows, plus exclusive player interviews and unprecedented sports content creation.
Aren't you loving life in Tampa Bay? Nothing like being defending Super Bowl champs, Stanley Cup champions, American League champions. This is Outkick. Join me every Sunday morning at 10. Let's talk our teams in the hottest sports market in the country. Never too early to talk Buccaneers or check in on all the teams in Tampa Bay. It will be your best hour of sports. The Outkick Show, powered by Guerrilla Marketing. Sunday mornings at 10 on 102.5 The Bone. Sports media has evolved. Introducing NSPN Next Gen Sports, your number one source for all team and combat sports. Live shows, breaking news, esports tournaments, and interactive sports content like never before. Like and follow NSPN on our Facebook page for your chance at this month's fan giveaway contest. And tune in every Sunday at noon for exclusive video access to my Outkick Show interview. NSPN Next Gen Sports. Outkick here. I have to tell you about my amazing pampered experience at Daniela LaCorey Styling Studio. First of all, I love what she did with my hair, but it's the entire experience that truly sets her apart. You walk in and chances are she's playing your favorite music because she is. She pours you your favorite adult beverage because she is. It's gone from haircut to a truly relaxing time only at Daniela LaCorey Styling Studio. Haircuts, men and women, full spa treatments, hair color. Get it all with Daniela. Check her out on Instagram at Daniela LaCorey or book her on the Booksy app at ladybarberdaniela.booksy.com. Tell her how Keck sent you and get $10 off your first service, plus neck and shoulder massage. Daniela LaCorey Styling Studio. Outkick here from my friends at Family Lawn, Pest, Handyman, and Housekeeping. I'm all about saving money and saving time, especially when it comes to maintaining my home. These people are 4-in-1. One provider for my lawn, Pest, Handyman, and Housekeeping. I don't have to call 4 different companies, receive 4 different estimates, have 4 different strangers come into my home and write 4 different checks. I simply call Roger and Paula at Family Lawn and Pest. Sign up for a year and leave the honeydews to them. Get a free estimate. Call 813-526-8111. That's 813-526-8111. Tell them Al Keck sent you and get $250 off your first year or 20% off your first month. It's Family Lawn and Pest and so much more. Medical marijuana made easy. See if you pre-qualify for your Florida medical marijuana card free of charge, 100% risk, obligation, and judgment-free with Fast Track Cannabis Clinics of America. You're talking Tampa Bay's #1 choice for compassionate care with business professionals. Discreetly begin your road to relief by dialing 813-358-CARD or visit www.mycannabiscard.com. That's 813-358-CARD. 2273. And make sure to tell them that Al Keck sent you for $30 off new patient enrollment. Ask about military and senior discounts. Fast Track Cannabis Clinics of America. With uncertainty at an all-time high, securing what matters most has never been more important for your home or your office. Prevent disaster and make life easier. Try a security and home automation system from Alarm Engineers, Inc., Tampa's trusted leader for more than 30 years. State-of-the-art security systems, award-winning monitoring, and now full-spectrum smart home solutions. Alarm Engineers, Inc. has everything your home and office could possibly need and will work with any budget. Book a free security or smart home consultation today. Call 813-948-4000. That's 813-948-4000. And get your first month free by telling them Al Keck sent you. Alarm Engineers, Inc.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Something's not firing tonight, so I guess we have no intro. That's what happens sometimes on a Monday. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. And how do we start off this edition, this Monday night edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television live on NSPN? And of course, I love St. Pete. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions. And then at 9:30, we will have Powers on Sports podcast, the Power Man himself.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Mr. Jason Powers. Yes, I love when things fire off the way they're supposed to fire off. But guys, we're only a month away from your Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing the Dallas Cowboys. That's right. It is August 9th. Of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers start off on September 9th. And of course, we're only how many days away from the first Bucs preseason game versus the Cincinnati Bengals. So are you guys ready? Let me go ahead and put up the number as always. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. 0391. Let's go ahead and go on to the comments really quick as we wait for Leo Haggerty to come on. And if not, we'll take some phone calls from you. What's up, Peter H. Blake? Not the intro, that's for sure. We got all the ads out of the way, but there's no intro. I don't know where it's at. So sorry about that. We'll definitely get that working. Davis and Bunting won't make it the final 53-man roster. They suck. Well, this is what I have for you today. Instead of the normal, and look, Troy Polamalu, King Troy, Trojan Legend SC, you are absolutely famous for starting off the show like this. This is what I got for you, my friend.
Shut up!
Exactly. There you go. Let's go out to Chris here. Hey, Peter, just 5 days away from another Bucs game, right? I mean, are you guys ready? Are you guys pumped up? Let me go ahead and fire those cannons right there. Let's go out to Raphael Ashanti. Great show design, Peter. Absolutely. It's usually better when we have an intro. So like I said, no intro tonight. That's okay. We're just coming in hot. We're getting you ready to go for Tampa Bay versus the Cincinnati Bengals. And we're waiting for Leo Haggerty, the legend self, former Coach Scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions. By the way, did you guys enjoy that Hall of Fame ceremony this weekend? I mean, did you watch some of it? I watched some of it. Of course, Tom Brady being booed like this right here. You've got to love that, though. I mean, here's Tom Brady. He's supporting his biggest rival in a Peyton Manning, and he's getting booed by who? Who is actually there? Who's there? Well, you have Raider fans. You have Colts fans. and you have Bronco fans. So, of course, they're going to boo him. You know why? Because Brady has disposed of all their teams. So, boo away. Of course, it didn't stop Peyton Manning from taking some shots at Tom Brady, saying that not only the speeches were kind of short with the 6 minutes, but that basically Brady, well, actually, let me just go ahead and read the comments from Brady from the ceremony. The 2021 induction class wants to thank those previous inductees who gave long-winded acceptance speeches, which, by the way, it's not always bad to be long-winded, especially in the Hall of Fame speech. I mean, that's what I don't understand. Like, it's the Hall of Fame. It's the pinnacle of your career. You can't go longer than 6 minutes or 10 minutes or hell, even 50. It's your time. Like, I get it. There's commercial spots and stuff like that, but come on. Seriously? We're going to put a time limit? I mean, that's what I never understood. Like, you have the Oscars. You have these award ceremonies. They're so damn boring, but the speeches are not boring. I actually paid to watch these guys get up there and talk about their career. I want to hear about their career. I don't care about the damn commercials. I don't care about it. Well, I do care about them for NSPN on my show, but not the other shows. I mean, you see them 20,000 times, and you know what I'm talking about. It's always that one beer commercial or one insurance. I saved $1,000 or $100 of my insurance that you've seen every freaking day, and I get it. It's a moneymaker, but I'd rather see those speeches. I would. Anyway, going back to it, let's see here who was presented by his father, Archie, forcing us to have a whopping 6 minutes to recap our football careers. I want to give a special thanks to my old rival, Ray Lewis, for being here tonight. Ray just finished giving his speech that started in 2018. Good stuff. I actually like that. I tell you what you learn from Peyton Manning. First and foremost, not only was he one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, period. Now, is he as great as Brady? Of course not. No, we ain't going to go there. 2 Super Bowls compared to 7. And I don't care what you say about the numbers at the end of the day. Tom Brady, greatest of all time, period. But their matchups were just unbelievable, right? 11-6 all time. Brady has over a Peyton Manning. The matchups with him being either the Colts quarterback or the Broncos quarterback versus Brady with the Patriots. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. 11-6, though. So he definitely took a shot at Ray Lewis. And then he also shouted out Brady, the current Tampa Bay Buccaneer quarterback. How good is that to hear again? Right, Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans? Again, a month away from the Dallas Cowboys. Tom Brady, by the time he's inducted into the Hall of Fame with, again, the boos. So let's go ahead and get the boos in the background. By the way, when somebody boos you, it means you're great. That's what that means. That's a level of respect. You've got to love that. Got to love that. In his final year of eligibility in 2035, he'll only have time to post his acceptance speech to his Instagram account. So there you go. And if you didn't get a chance to check out that speech by Peyton Manning, unbelievable. I mean, that's good stuff. It should have went longer than the 9 or 10 minutes that it went. Of course, they show the bust. Everybody kind of joking around about his forehead. It is a big forehead, but the bust really didn't look like that. Nice try, guys. Nice troll job. But I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed that. And then John Lynch has to follow that. And how many Bucs fans were looking forward to that moment? I mean, we talked about it with our own Alex Fleming of NSPN Florida Sun Review. We gave you a little replay there, a little review of the sights and sounds from Canton, Ohio. Him with Terrell Davis. I mean, but how many Bucs fans were looking forward to seeing John Lynch? But John Lynch had to follow Peyton Manning. Manning made an unbelievable speech. In fact, some people were saying, you know what? This guy should be the commissioner of the league because of what he said, what he was trying to portray about protecting the league, about how it's about the next generation of football player. And he's exactly right. Exactly right. And you can see why networks are trying to throw this guy so many millions of dollars. I'm looking forward to seeing him on ESPN. But I was really surprised. But once again, John Lynch had to follow that. And what did he say? Who's the next in line for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Ronde Barber. Let the truth set you free. Honestly. Did I say troll? Yes, I did. And this is what you get for being a troll.
Shut up!
I mean, that's going to be my go-to. Instead of me saying it, I'm just going to let Adam Sandler say it from now on. But again, John Lynch shouting out a Ronde Barber, talking about his change, which I didn't remember. He was a linebacker when he came into the league for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then he went to strong safety. Of course, admiring a Tony Dungy. How could you not? We've interviewed him on this show before. Strong religious man, but also strong in his convictions about it being more than football. I love that. It's about the community. It's about reaching out. It has to be more than winning championships, which is what John Lynch said. So good stuff. What's up, Keith Robbins Jr.? What's going on, buddy? Let me go ahead and give you a woo.
Woo!
Because I like when people participate. But I think that really signifies that time period for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It represents it, right? You had Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks, and of course, Dungy not being a Hall of Famer for the Bucs, but the Colts winning a Super Bowl eventually. But he was one of the guys that turned it around, along with Rich McKay, along with Monty Kiffin. And to hear John Lynch talk the way he did about that coaching staff and about that team. Unbelievable. And then saying Ronde Barber, which, by the way, hello, Hall of Fame. Why isn't Ronde Barber in the Hall of Fame? You tell me. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. So good stuff. And of course, I know you're looking forward to the preseason game. So we'll get to some of those headlines today. I tell you what, though, let's go out to our phone lines. We're still waiting for Leo, but that's okay. That's what we do here on the Sports Web. No intro, no Leo. We got Todd. Todd, welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television on this Monday, only 5 days away from the first preseason game versus the Cincinnati Bengals. What do you have to say, my friend?
How you doing, Peter?
I'm doing good, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Listen, I was at training camp, not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before that.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, there are some battles going on out there.
Really? Go ahead. Do tell. Tell me a little bit.
Well, let me tell you, our running backs, we've got 3, maybe 4, but 3 for sure, and maybe a 4th one. We're going to have a solid running back group.
Love it.
Peter.
Love it.
Yeah, they look great. And let me tell you something. Jalen Darden, he's the real deal.
You impressed?
He is the real deal,
You're
man.
impressed? Is that the guy you're looking forward to in 5 days against the Cincinnati Bengals on Saturday night? That's Jalen Darden over Joe Tryon or any other rookie on this Buccaneer team right now?
I like Tryon too, but Jalen Darden, man, he's going to be special. He was catching everything, Peter. I mean, he was catching everything. And of course, Mike Evans looked like he was in mid-season form. Antonio Brown did not practice that day. Sue did not practice that day, but the rest of them did. Chris Godwin looked great. Of course, O.J. Howard was out. But I'm telling you, this team, they look solid both sides of the ball. And when you hear Bruce Arians doing his interviews and saying, you know, the offense wins sometimes, the defense wins sometimes, that is really the case because both sides of the ball were solid. I mean, we're really solid. We got a lot of depth. And I hope and pray that we stay healthy this year because I think it could be a really special year.
Todd, I tell you what, stand by here. We got Leo on. I want you to stand by because I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to put you on hold really quick. Leo, I got you. Stand by. We're going to go out to Todd, and then I'll come back to you. So let me go out to Todd here. Todd, go ahead and finish up, my friend.
No, I just like I was saying, I just think both sides of the ball. If we stay healthy, this could really be a special year.
Say it. Say it for me. Say it on the sports web because, I've said it last March. I said it, a couple months ago about this team. Say it, my friend. Super Bowl or bust.
It's going to be Super Bowl or bust.
All right.
Because
I like it.
I don't see anybody stopping our offense. And our defense, I mean, they're solid. There's a lot of depth there with Tryon there now, and the secondary. They're young, they're hungry, they're good. I tell you, the defense played. Brady got so mad on one play where the defense stopped them, and of course, they're not allowed to touch Brady.
Sure.
Brady got so mad he kicked the ball 40 yards in the air. That was the day he kicked the ball. And I couldn't believe it, but he was pissed.
Any concern with all these reports? Because we had a report today that was the worst offensive practice in the last couple years here. So any concern about all these training camp reports, or do you think this team is going to be ready to go, of course, on Saturday, but definitely on September 9th versus the Cowboys?
We got to be ready September 9th.
Do you think they're going to be? Any concern about it? You think they're going to be ready?
I don't see any concern. I don't know who was saying that was such a bad day. Maybe it was Arians, but I thought they really had a pretty good day, and I thought Jalen Darden really stood out.
Yeah, he's been impressive. I've heard a lot about him. We're about to get on here with Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former coach, scout, and now media member, and get his thoughts from camp because he's been out there. Anything else, my friend? 30 days away from the Cowboys. You ready to go?
Oh man, I'm gonna, God willing, I'm gonna be there. I've got my season tickets. I'm ready to go.
All right.
I'm ready for the season, Peter. I think it's gonna, like I say, if we stay healthy, I think this could be really special.
I tell you right now, with all the reports coming out about Jalen Darden, of course, Joe Tryon, I think there's a lot of Bucs fans right now that are just excited to see a preseason game, let alone the first game of the season, of course, kicking off on a Thursday night on NBC, Thursday Night Football. Good stuff, my friend. Really quick, and we'll get out to Leo Haggerty. Watch any of the Hall of Fame festivities this weekend, and what were your thoughts?
I thought both nights. I watched both nights.
Okay.
I thought it was great. I thought they got up there, all the speakers. I thought John Lynch was incredible.
Yes.
I thought Peyton Manning was really, really good. And I thought really Drew Pearson just brought it. And I do not like the Cowboys, but Drew Pearson, a lot of passion.
Yes.
For Drew Pearson, and he deserved to get in.
We waited a long time. I mean, that passion just kind of built up, and then you get up there, and that's what I'm like, okay, you get 6 minutes to talk about your life. I mean, good luck. Come on. You should get unlimited time. I get it. There's people out there to take advantage of it, but it's their time. That's the reason why you're watching the damn ceremony, not for the car commercials, not for the beer commercials that you see 20 times a day. You're looking to see these football players give you some type of perspective on the field, off the field. Let them talk. Good stuff, Todd. Let me go ahead and give you a woo from Ric Flair right there. Thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate you.
Ronnie Barber's got to be next.
Yes, sir.
He's got to be. He deserves it.
You better believe it. We'll talk about it with Leo Haggerty. Thanks a lot, Todd. Let's go out to Leo Haggerty. Leo, welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. And I tell you right now, you weren't the only one that was late tonight. I couldn't find my intro. It didn't fire off. But welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend. How you doing on this Monday night?
Peter, I'm doing fine. I'll be honest with you. You lost out to God tonight. We had a church meeting, and it went overtime, and I said, Peter or God? Well, Peter, I'm sorry. You finished second.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to fault you for that because I've spoke at your church before, and I'll definitely come back and speak again. But good stuff. Good choice, my friend. I could handle this, although it doesn't necessarily seem like the Bucs offense is primed and ready. In fact, Bruce Arians pretty upset today. In fact, he was saying that this was the worst offensive practice in the last 3 years he's been a part of. The defense came out, but it seems like when this team does take off, that basically they have their problems. Any concern about this team going forward here? Because this is not the first time we've heard this offense struggle.
Peter, where were a lot of them last night?
Well, a lot of Canton,
Ohio,
right?
And they caught a private plane, probably that the Glazers had chartered, got in the wee hours of the morning, and then came to practice. And remember, the head coach was on that flight too, so
right?
He was probably a little ornery. Peter, sometimes you just got to tip your hat to the guys in the red shirts, and they played well today.
Yes.
Got an interception, got their hands on a lot of balls, and it's sometimes you just got to say, hey, those guys are doing it too. They're getting paid. There were some good plays. O.J. Howard deep and Antonio Brown deep, and I would have called it a toss-up.
Okay.
But, it was not a good practice. It was not crisp.
I want to read these comments from Arians here. I thought it was one of the best start-to-finish practices defensively. It would probably be the worst offensive practice we had in 3 years. It's a pattern of behavior now, and after a day off, the offense just stinks. They just need to break that habit. Defensively, they really came out, dominated the entire practice. It was good to see. We just got off the phone with Todd. He was impressed. It was a couple weeks ago with Jalen Darden. But it's not only Jalen Darden that's been impressive in this camp. It's been Antonio Brown. In fact, BA today kind of said that, Brown is running like he did 4 or 5 years ago with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is that what you see? And should Buccaneer fans be very excited? And should the NFL be terrified of Brown coming back full strength?
Peter, he's in shape and he's healthy. And two things you can't coach. You can't coach size, you can't coach speed.
Exactly.
And believe me, he has the speed and he is starting to use it. Brady trusts him. That's a huge part of the game.
Right.
He's not afraid to go to him at any time. And that's it. He's looking good. He is looking younger than his years. How's that?
I love it. I absolutely love it because, of course, only earning a 1-year contract, definitely motivated. Also, the Bucs are going to have him for a full year, so he's going to be more comfortable in this offense. And it's not like, they're really they have a very crowded wide receiver room with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and, of course, Antonio Brown, Scotty Miller, and Tyler Johnson. And, of course, we heard about Tyler Johnson not necessarily being in shape. So, again, with all this talk of Jalen Darden, is there a possibility that Darden could maybe steal some reps away from Johnson? Or once again, am I looking too much into this?
Peter, again, we went into this preseason training camp, 5 spots open. Something has to happen. And again, there's 2 things these guys that are not planning on being on the roster have to do.
Right.
They've got to make splash plays. They've got to impress the coaches in some way, shape, or form. And 2, they've got to earn the trust of coaches. Again, guys that are just starting to play well, the question is, do coaches trust them? And right now, I don't think anybody's that hasn't been a veteran has that trust factor yet. But we're starting to see some of that come around, which is interesting. The biggest thing you're seeing, Peter, is there's some linemen out there that are starting to look like NFL level players.
Really?
The scary thing is that they may have to cut them. And they're going to go someplace else and play because they're putting some stuff on film right now. But Peter, let's talk about the most important thing.
Okay.
Kyle Trask, what do you do with him? You're not going to be able. I'm amazed the NFL has not expanded rosters with COVID.
You would think so.
Look,
you would think they would do that.
Well, yeah. Look what's going on. I mean, you got Kirk Cousins up in Minnesota said, "I'm not going to get a shot." You got Jackson up in Baltimore said, "I'm not getting a shot."
Well, what is it? His second time here, Leo, that he has been positive with COVID. So it's like, how many times do you have to be positive with COVID before you decide to get it? And I understand the whole, fascination of, well, it's not FDA approved. Neither is whey protein. And yet a lot of athletes still take that and still use that on a daily basis. So enough with the nonsense of it's not FDA approved. If it's going to curtail this situation with COVID, why wouldn't you take it, especially with the guy who's already had, tested positive, but you can't even do that because you have to give it 90 days. So it's just like that situation is kind of going to get out of control once again for Baltimore, which it did last year.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a crime what they did to Denver. Made them play without a quarterback, but because Baltimore had a star, that was a whole change of plan, and they gave him a week.
Right.
Peter, I'll tell you the problem right now, and Kirk Cousins is a perfect example. He was exposed to Mund having tested positive. He never tested positive.
Right.
And these guys are saying it's the flu. I get over it. Why do I need a shot? And the biggest problem, Peter, right now is you got so much conflicting information. You turn on one TV station and you turn on another, and it's like two different events are going on, and people don't know what to listen to. I'll tell you what, if I'm a young African American male, I am really thinking twice about this, because again, Peter, there's not a whole lot of stuff out on this. That's the thing, they're not trusting people to start with, and I don't blame them. They grew up in a different environment than we did.
Well, it's just tough, like you said. The media, one portraying one perspective, and the other portraying another. And we're on with a guy that portrays plenty perspective here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television on NSPN. Of course, I love St. Pete. It's Leo Haggerty, the legend, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions. It's Sports Mag. With all that being said, do you think this is eventually going to continue to be an issue, or is this going to quiet down and most likely the majority of these players are going to get vaccinated where we don't have these outbreaks like we had last year, which again cost Baltimore? You talk about Denver, it cost them. I mean, you hope that you don't have that, because if you have an outbreak or you have players that are getting it, we know what we don't know is how strong this Delta variant is. Even if you are vaccinated, you can get it, but it's a lot worse. You want fans in those stands, and you don't want any games canceled. And we heard of what the National Football League stance was going to be if somebody did get an outbreak, that they would penalize the team. So in your opinion, is this going to be an ongoing issue, or eventually is everybody going to be vaccinated and we're not going to have to worry about it?
Peter, I don't think you're going to see everybody get vaccinated.
Okay.
The NFL is saying right now 90% of its players are vaccinated. I don't think that. I think that is fake news. I don't think they're anywhere near 90. I would say 65, maybe 70 at best. And if that 30% is three of your top five quarterbacks, now it gets interesting. Is Tom Brady vaccinated? We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't need to know.
Right.
It's something we don't need to know. And again, I'm just wondering, Peter, if let's say Patrick Mahomes isn't vaccinated and he tests positive, do the Chiefs jumping under the rug? Is the NFL jumping under the rug? I mean, Well,
look, if you're going to, be able to hide injuries, which you've seen somewhat with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers doing that last year with Tom Brady's situation, why wouldn't they do the same thing with COVID? The problem is that if one guy gets it in that room, everybody gets it in that room. So it's going to be kind of hard to hide.
Yeah, it's
I mean, that's where it goes down to. Let me ask you this, Leo, really quick. Are you surprised at the stance of what BA said today that everybody will play in this game versus Cincinnati? In fact, he said, I don't know how much, but everybody will play this first game, namely a Tom Brady. Of course, the Titans week 2, we're going against them for 2 practices, and then we will determine this as far as who plays in that one. The last one will play a bunch of players. You have 3 preseason games, so not really surprised. I mean, how much can you play a Tom Brady coming off the torn MCL and some of these guys coming off of surgeries? Again, at the end of the day, it's not necessarily just about preparing. It's also about not having big-time injuries, right?
3 plays or 1 series, Peter.
Okay.
Whichever's the longest. That'll be it.
All right.
You want to put these guys in bubble wrap.
Yes.
You don't need to get anybody hurt in preseason. That's for sure.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't be surprised to see 3 plays and out. If they get a couple first downs, maybe 6. That's it. 1 series. And then they got practices against Tennessee, 2 of them next week, which will serve more of a purpose than the game. I don't expect to see a whole lot there. But in week 3, you got to get used to coming out of halftime.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see it in week 3, 2.5 quarters and 2 quarters in a series,
right?
Just to get used to it. And I'll tell you what, Peter, it's a tough thing. Could you imagine players going down in week 3 in a preseason game? The media it would be like sharks around blood.
Yeah.
And that's terrible because you got to get guys game experience. You got to get guys used to the bullets going for real. And the only way to do that is put them in a game.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. We're running just a little bit late. So Jason Powers, I see you. Will be another 5 minutes and then I'll get you on, my friend. Definitely want to hear your thoughts on Bobby Bowden. Speaking of Bowden, of course, he passed away yesterday. 34 years being a head coach for the Florida State Seminoles, 91 years old. I mean, what are your best memories of Mr. Bowden?
Boy, I'll tell you what, Peter, we lost a legend. We lost an icon.
Absolutely.
And what people don't think is important, if you saw the movie Remember the Titans, this is a true statement. He was at West Virginia, and they did put on their helmets the Marshall logo. And it's just, if you met the man, it was just like, wow. He never had a crossword for somebody.
Right.
Players would run through a wall for it. Bobby Bowden loved to win. But you know who loved to win more, Peter? His players for him.
Yes.
That was just, he was that kind of guy. He was that kind of coach. And you know what? Everybody said, he never got rid of players for disciplinary reasons. He gave them second chances, third chance. Peter, he took care of business off the football field. And he had a great comment one time. Why should I punish my team to help the opposition? They're going to stay on the team. But believe me, there were things that happened to those players to let them know there are consequences. It's just, you're not going to hurt your team, but we're going to take care of this. And it's just going to be you and me to know about it.
And, of course, that movie was We Are Marshall, not Remember the Titans, although that was a great football movie in itself. We Are Marshall, where it shows Bowden there, and he's doing that for Marshall. Of course, that terrible plane wreck that happened where basically Marshall has to rebuild in that 2 years. Great movie. So, Fumblerooski versus Clemson. I know you're a Clemson guy. What kind of impact did that make on you in your life?
One of the greatest plays college football was Fumblerooski at Death Valley. And you know what, Peter, I'm going to jump back to real quick to We Are Marshall. When I see you again, I got a recruiting letter from Marshall the year after that.
Really?
And and guess who it was from? Red Parker, the guy who didn't get on the plane. That
yes,
Fox played in it.
Correct.
And the main reason I didn't go to Marshall was freshmen were going to be eligible. And I said, I can't make that jump from high school to playing college varsity football. That's a huge jump. But
yeah,
I tell you what, Peter, when you look at what happens with the way things work out. It's just amazing that Bobby Bowden is at West Virginia, then comes to Florida State. And Peter, he would play anybody, anywhere, anytime. Didn't matter. He would go on the road. He'd play in Doak Campbell. Didn't matter. You wanted to play? Hey, just tell me time and place. We'll show up. And that was huge. I think he had 12 seasons of 10 wins or more.
Yep.
That's phenomenal.
34 years, 2 national championships. And the memory I always come back to, and we got to run because we got Jason Powers. Leo, hate to do that to you, but the memory I always come back to is 1991, wide right. And you could see him, and it looks like I feel bad for the man because over his career, it's always been the kicking has always been his Achilles heel. But of course, it all pays off in 1993. And then, of course, he wins in 1999. Leo Haggerty, thanks a lot for joining me here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Go ahead and promote yourself, my friend.
Yeah, go take a look at us at itsportsmag.com, www.itsportsmag.com. And Peter, next Monday, no God. I'll be on at 9:00.
Hey, my friend, it doesn't, you know what? You made the right choice there. You're a godly man, just like Bobby Bowden. And to me, I look at you in the same respect as a Bowden, as a legend. That's why we got you on here on the Sports Web Live on NSPN. And of course, I love St. Pete. We'll see you next week. All right, boss?
Take care, my friend.
All right, there you go. Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions. I don't want to let this guy wait too long, but I want to get everybody in. And if you have a memory about Mr. Bobby Bowden, go ahead and call the phone line. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Now, I got to go out to the power man here.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
You know, it's funny what you learn about somebody that you really had no idea what he was all a part of. Let's go out to Jason Powers, Powers on Sports podcast. And you were telling me something interesting. Go ahead and put this out there on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Welcome on this Monday with a celebration of life, I think, to Mr. Bobby Bowden. Tell me why Mr. Bowden was significant to you in your life, my friend. Welcome to the Evolution.
Peter, how you doing? Great to be back with you. And I have to correct you before I get to my Florida State story. It was the punt Rooski, not fumble Rooski.
Did I
punt
say
Rooski?
Punt Rooski, my bad.
Punt Rooski in Death Valley, Clemson, South Carolina, brother. I remember I was a sophomore in high school watching that game on CBS that Saturday afternoon when Bowden pulled the trick of all trick plays out of the hat. And people don't realize that game was tied 21-21. They weren't losing. It was a tie game with about 2.5 minutes to go, and he calls that play from his own 20-yard line to run a fake punt to Leroy Butler. But what an unbelievable call that was. And to me, that is the game that really put Florida State in the national spotlight as a national powerhouse, national championship contender on a year-to-year basis. All right.
Yes.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Spill it. Go ahead and spill it what you were saying off air that I didn't know about. Go ahead. Tell everybody there.
I was fortunate enough in 1992, I made the Florida State football team as a walk-on kicker. I was a walk-on kicker in 1992 for Florida State, and it was so I got to play for the venerable Bobby Bowden. So it was a great honor to be able to make the team and be the backup kicker. And I was, like you were talking about, all the wide right stuff. I was the next guy. I wasn't the guy doing the kicking. I was the next guy in line after some of the wide right stuff. So I was fortunate. I can always say I was on the first ever ACC championship team at Florida State University in 1992. Here's the ACC championship ring from circa 1992, my man.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Tell me some of the players you played with on that team, and tell me something that somebody else out there doesn't know about Bobby Bowden.
Well, I played with the likes of Charlie Ward, Marvin Jones, Derek Brooks, which we all know and love. You know, all kind of Corey Sawyer, Clifton Abraham, who played for the Buccaneers down the road, Derek Alexander, which were, Tamarick Vanover, if you Florida State guys remember that name. I mean, tons of offensive linemen that played in the NFL. Danny Cannell, which I know a lot of people know. So I played with a lot of big-time college players, NFL players. And you talk about wars at practice. The practices were worse than the games for virtually every one of the time I was there. The practices those guys had to go through, the offense versus the defense, were incredible. And, one thing I will say, you mentioned this, the kicking issues. One thing I think Florida State did finally after all those wide rights is they put more time and emphasis into the kicking game. When I was there, we didn't put enough time into the special teams, in my opinion. They were beating people so badly and so convincingly that the kicking game really never mattered, other than when they played Miami or Notre Dame. And after I left, which the reason I left Florida State was not because I didn't want to stay, is because you probably remember this, Peter. They signed a kid named Scott Bentley, who was on the cover of Sports Illustrated with Burt Reynolds the year after 1992 going into the 93 season. They recruited a kid named Scott Bentley out of Colorado who was supposed to be the it kicker and all that stuff. And so my writing was on the wall that if I wanted to play, unfortunately, it probably wasn't going to be at Florida State. So I had to make the difficult decision to leave Florida State to continue my football career because I wanted to play.
And you talked about Burt Reynolds. I saw this on Facebook, how they not only brought in Reynolds because, of course, he was a part of that program, Smokey and the Bandit and all that other stuff, but of course, he had Walter Payton and also former WCW champion, the guy by the name of Farouk, but Ron Simmons at the time. Go ahead and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, Ron Simmons, people don't realize he was one of the first big recruits Bobby Bowden never got to sign with Florida State. He was like, I think he was a 4-time All-American at Florida State. His locker in the locker room in 1992 was glassed off. They had it glassed off because he was such a great player. They glassed off his locker and with all his memorabilia that he was a 4-time All-American. I remember that like it was yesterday. His locker was like enshrined. It was like an enshrinement to how great he was as a player. Ron Simmons then went on to a professional wrestling career. And I'll remember the day in 1992 that Ron Simmons in WCW, I know you're a huge wrestling guy, they had an event at the Leon County Civic. That's it, brother. Woo! At the Leon County Civic Center, they had a WCW event that night, and Ron Simmons, who was the champion at the time, the WCW champion, came out to practice in his country boots, his jeans, his white tank top, and the WCW world title belt wrapped around his waist, and he came and talked to the team for about 10 or 15 minutes, man. What a moment.
All right, give me the most memorable thing that Bobby Bowden said to you at the time, because you hear from Derek Brooks and other football players, it's faith, family, and football. Is that something he said to you that you carried on throughout your life? What's some other things that Bowden said to you that you can remember?
One of the things I really respected about Bobby is that, he really had from a coaching perspective, he was in tune with. I mean, he was the ultimate CEO. He coached his coaches and he allowed his coaches to do the coaching. Mark Richt, Brad Scott, Chuck Amato, all these guys that turned into head coaches at other places were assistants for him for many, many years. Mickey Andrews was there forever. He allowed his coaches to carry out the game plan and the coaching techniques that he wanted established. And cool thing with me, I was kind of a nobody on the I wouldn't say nobody, but I was a backup player. I wasn't a big recruit by any means. He would always, every time he would see me, he would call me Red because I used to have a lot darker red hair than I have now. But he would always make a little comment to me, "Hey, Red, how you doing?" Whenever we would, on Mondays, he would like to walk. We would always practice in Doak Campbell Stadium on Monday nights for lead into the game week. He would always walk around Doak Campbell Stadium before practice starts to get a little exercise. And we'd be out there warming up for special teams practice, and he'd always make a little comment, "Hey, Red, how you doing?" So he would always, even though I was a nobody in terms of star power and all that, he would always try to keep you involved in the team dynamic to a great degree. And he always professed not cursing at players. Now, I can't say that about his assistants, but you would never hear him dog cuss anybody. He would always, and he would try to get his assistants not to do it, but that didn't always work, of course. But he was he's a good guy, man. I mean, he didn't do everything the right way. He made some mistakes during his tenure, but when you're there for 40 years, nobody's ever going to run a perfectly clean program and never have a mistake or a problem child, things like that. So give the guy full credit.
And we give this guy full credit because he is a superstar on our show. It's the Power Man himself, Mr. Jason Powers.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Powers on Sports podcast here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television live on NSPN. And of course, I love St. Pete. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. You talked about some of his mistakes. Go ahead and tell me what you think he made a mistake with. I mean, I know that there were some wins taken away from him. Of course, with the academic scandal. But besides that, you really didn't hear a lot. But what are some of the mistakes you think he made, in your opinion? And also, do you feel like he's still the greatest coach of all time? In my opinion, he is, even though he doesn't have.
Yeah, when you know, from a mistakes perspective, nobody's going to say. I mean, he was not a cheater. I mean, again, did guys at some point during his career probably get a $100 handshake from somebody, from a booster at some point? I'm sure they did. Did players get a free meal here and there? But he did not. He was not an open cheater where all the talk was, how did that guy get on campus? He was, you know, I know you had the issue with Peter Warwick with the free shoes where the guys were going to Dillard's. You know, he was a very big proponent of allowing kids to be college kids to a degree, and if he knew about it, he would correct it. Again, should he have probably dismissed a couple more guys than he did probably over the tenure of his career? Probably, but every program in the country that was any good could make that statement. But there were not ever allegations that Bobby Bowden was delivering bags of money to people, to recruits and all things like that to get them to come to Tallahassee. Did guys make mistakes when they were there? Players, I'm sure they did. Did guys get in trouble, getting arrested every once in a while at a nightclub or a bar? I'm sure they did. He dealt with it internally. But from a perspective of, you've heard these stories of these other coaches that are flat out cheating, getting caught with bags of money and things like that. I don't think anybody would ever accuse Bobby Bowden of that stuff.
What do you think he would think about the state of college football right now with, basically now going towards paying athletes? And you're talking about free shoes, but now it's like, college football in general, because of the law, has kind of embraced this whole idea of paying athletes, which I thought they should have did it in the first place. What do you think he would think of the state of college football right now?
I mean, would he love it? Probably not, because he's probably an old school guy when it comes to that stuff. But I think he would appreciate it, because I think it would, it would help deter some of those ambitions that some of these players, high recruit players at a place like Florida State, are going to get enticed with if they don't have a means to make any money. Because remember, that's the beauty of a team. You had kids from every walk of life at Florida State when I was there. You had kids from wealthy families. You had kids that came from nothing. You had kids came from the city. You had country kids. You had kids that came from the projects. So you had such a diverse array of players that all came together that were great football players and became a great team. And he would embrace everybody, whether it was the African-American players, the white players, the guys like me that were kind of the nobody guys. He would embrace us all. We all had to do the same things, and he tried to treat us all with a degree of respect.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I always took from Bowden, is that he made you feel special even if you didn't think you were special. And you talked about it. You were just a walk-on guy, but he made you feel special, but treating you just differently than everybody else. So I feel like, that was a great characteristic. And that's the reason why a lot of players wanted to play for him, because he was a player's coach and he treated you like you were special. Let's go out to the comments here. Read some of these from these webheads. Why can't Tribal Troll get an A? Because you get this. That's why.
Shut up!
That's what you get right there. You give me a woo, I'll give you a woo back. Let's see here. Keith Robbins, that team was so close-knit. Absolutely. Chris says, my nephew is going into high school football. He's going to try out for football. Let me go ahead and fire those cannons. Congratulations. Leo is taking a nap. No, he was actually going to church. So I kind of felt bad about it, but I told him that's priority at the end of the day. What is it? Faith, family, and then football. So we got our priorities in check here on the Sports Web. I understand it sucked that Lynch had to follow Peyton, but damn, John got very little response from the crowd. when he was introduced and after his speech ended. Even that Bill Nunn guy got a bigger response from the crowd. You agree with that? Why didn't John Lynch get the response that a lot of Bucs fans felt like he got? I mean, he should have got. With him following a Peyton Manning, he had some really good things to say, even in this case of being a Buccaneer fan, of saying Rondé Barber should be the next one. What did you think about John Lynch and his speech?
No, he did a good job. I mean, not everybody's going to, I mean, very few people are going to get the response that Peyton Manning gets. I mean, John Lynch, he was never a surefire Hall of Famer. He was a guy that had to wait several years to get in, obviously. He got in. I don't know how many years he had to wait, but it's probably been 10 years at least. But, he's a hell of a player. I think when you have Sapp, I think everybody remembers Sapp and Brooks probably a little more than they remember John Lynch. Again, Lynch was a great player and was the anchor of the secondary. But again, a lot of people thought that Tony Dungy Tampa 2 defense was a little bit on the back end, especially the DBs weren't asked to do a whole lot. And obviously Lynch was a big hitter. That was what he made his name. He was such a big hitter. But, I wouldn't worry about how much applause John Lynch got or didn't get. He made it. He's a Hall of Famer. He did a good speech, and he did a good job. So no complaints.
Yeah, and to me, he definitely was a major impact for that Bucs defense because he was the 8th man in the box.
Right.
And he was also one of the greatest safeties in that generation. And I'll tell you why I believe that, because when Bill Walsh sat down with him and was trying to convince him to come back to school, what tape did he show him? What tape did he show him of? He showed Ronnie Lott, and he said,
right,
you can make plays like this guy. And to me, I considered at the time Ronnie Lott to be the best safety I ever saw. What did you see with John Lynch? Did you think he was one of the best generation safety out there?
Absolutely. I mean, again, people don't realize, remember, John Lynch, I believe, was the first ever draft pick for the Florida Marlins as a baseball pitcher.
He was.
I mean, so he was a hell of an athlete.
He was second-round pick through the first pitch in Marlins history.
That's right. You're right. My mistake. But correct. High draft pick for the Marlins. And again, John Lynch, I had never heard of John Lynch when he came out of Stanford when he got drafted by the Buccaneers. But again, he was the consummate old-school safety in the box, 8th man in the box, stuff the run. He wasn't the greatest cover man in the world, but he was a ball hawk. He was a playmaker. People feared coming over the middle. That era of safety play is no longer a part of the NFL anymore. How would John Lynch have made it today? He might not have made it today. But again, Ronnie Lott might not have made it today either. So for a very Hall of Fame career. But give John Lynch credit. He was an intimidator. He was so super smart mentally. He got guys like Rondé Barber, Brian Kelly, Dexter Jackson, all those guys in position to make that Tampa 2 defense. He was basically a second defensive coordinator on the field with Coach Dungy and Monty Kiffin, and he was just a glue guy for the team. What a teammate from all indication from Derek Brooks, Sapp. He was the conservative guy. Sapp was the boisterous guy. Derek Brooks was pretty quiet. Lynch was also the conservative guy in the back end as well.
Yeah, and do you feel like he's right? He's correct in his assessment of, saying that Rondé Barber's the next guy. And why hasn't Barber gotten in is because, once again, he's not, one of those flashy players like we've talked about in the past where, and I can't name one off the top of my head, He's
not Deion Sanders.
Yes.
He wasn't a lockdown defensive back.
Right.
He was much better of a system player. He was a great Tampa 2 guy. He wasn't the greatest cover guy in man-to-man, but he was a ball hawk. You could utilize him on the blitz. He's got 20 sacks, 20 interceptions. He was a guy that always was tended to be in the right place. Again, was he the greatest athlete in the world? No. Was he the greatest cover guy in the world? No. But when you had to have a play, i.e. Philadelphia shutting down the vet in the slot, he's the guy that made the play and went 75 yards to send the Buccaneers to the Super Bowl. And yes, he will get in. He will get in the Hall of Fame eventually. It may be a couple more years before he gets in. He might be like a guy like a Donnie Shell who got in late in his career, who was appreciated. What a guy he was, part of that steel curtain defense. Rondé Barber is probably a very similar kind of guy.
Yeah, and he's done something that no other player has done in NFL history. Not only does he have over, 25 sacks, but also, 40 interceptions. So it's just like, okay, I get it. He's not a flashy guy. And people say, well, he's a system player. Well, so is Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice and Joe Montana were system guys in the West Coast offense. It's such a stupid argument at that point. I don't understand what the Pro Football Writers are looking at, but that's neither here nor there. Did you watch the ceremony, and what did you think about Peyton Manning's speech?
I actually watched the Peyton Manning speech today. I didn't get a chance to see a whole lot of the ceremony over the weekend, but I did watch Peyton's speech today. Nice job with a little dig at Tom Brady, our boy. Nice job making fun of Ray Lewis a little bit in his ongoing sermon that probably is still going on, by the way. But no, Peyton was succinct and to the point. Peyton was the guy that could have talked for 30 minutes easily with all the history and all the things that he did. So I'll give Peyton credit for getting in and out of there. Didn't take up too much time. And again, Peyton, what can you say? The question I have is, at what point in Peyton's career is he going to take either an ownership role or a head of football operations role with a team one of these days? That's my question for Peyton.
And I tell you right now, with that speech, he definitely seemed like he could be the future commissioner of the league.
Right, or that.
The future generations, and really emphasizing that to the other football players around with Jason Powers on Sports Podcast here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television live on NSPN. And of course, I Love St. Pete. Let's go back out to the comments here. Read them from these guys. See what they have to say. Anwar Nunn says, "What's up, Peter? What's going on, my friend?" Brian says, "Ha, ha, ha, ha. That's a Saints fan. So this is what you get, Mr. Saints fan."
Shut up!
That's what you get. Ben Cornett says, "Can we give a live version of Pete giving a sermon one day? Why not? Sure. That's why Peyton Manning talked trash about Tom Brady last night." But to me, it's not talking trash. And people were saying, well, Brady was getting booed. Well, I mean, consider the fans that were there. Colts, of course, they don't like him because Brady beat them. The Broncos, and of course, the Raiders. Who could forget the Raiders?
Right. I mean, Brady's going to be that guy that's going to get booed his whole career. People are always going to be hating on Tom Brady no matter when it is. You know, they'll appreciate him 10 years from now when he isn't going into the Hall of Fame. That's when the appreciation for Tom Brady will really come, because say what you want about Brady, you know, he didn't make the call. He didn't overturn the call in the Tuck rule game. That wasn't his. He didn't do it. You know, the deal with Spygate, the first Spygate, sure. Did he probably get some advantage? But because of what Belichick did, yes. Are we really going to kill Tom Brady about the air pressure in the football? Please, bro. They beat the Colts like, what is it, 41-7 or whatever it was that day. So let's give him a break on that, please. Please.
I agree with that. In 2035, I mean, that's not a bad thing, because Brady could play. I mean, I doubt he's gonna play that long, but he'll definitely be in the Hall of Fame soon. Let's see here, more comments. Remember what the defense is facing. Alex Fleming says Ben Cornett, as deservedly so. Want to become famous? No, not from you, because you are a troll. So Roger Shue says never get the jab. Alex Fleming, none. Definitely deserved his respect from the fans, but I would think that a player from the mid-90s to mid-2000s would be more recognized than, with all due respect, a team scout and sports writer at a Hall of Fame. Roger Shue, again, wisdom from Leo. That's what he provides. Jamie Lindsay, hey, Peter, Warrior is in the house. Let me go ahead and fire those cannons. Definitely smash that like button. Again, Saturday's game is coming up, so stay right here on NSPN. And, of course, I Love St. Pete. We got some type of announcements here very soon. Let's go out to Jamie again. Ones will probably play 2 series. Depends on how ones will go. Were you surprised by that announcement today with everybody playing? I mean, I was thinking they were probably going to hold out Brady for most of the preseason. In fact, I didn't even think they were going to play him, but they said they're going to play him. Everybody plays in this game. How do you feel about BA's announcement with playing time versus the Bengals and going forward?
No, I think you got to play Brady for a couple series. I mean, he needs to get in that rhythm again. You don't want to have to wait. You don't want to go into week 1 without him playing at all any live action. Again, I think he'll play 10 to 15 plays, whether that's 1 drive or 2 drives. I think you'll see 10 to 15 plays out of Brady in the offense. He's obviously going to play with all the number ones. Again, Tom is the best at knowing how to not get hit. So you'll see a very vanilla game plan by both teams. The defense from Cincinnati as well as the offense and defense from the Buccaneers. I got no problem with Tom Brady playing a couple series, as well as all the starters. They need to get out there and play a couple series. No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, we keep on hearing that they definitely want to play. Also, we keep on hearing that the practices are not very good. In fact, from BA today, this was the worst offensive practice in the last 3 years. Are you buying this? I mean, the defense is outplaying the offense. Any concerns? We've heard this throughout the whole process of training camp. Is this motivation by BA to get these guys to not be complacent?
It is absolutely motivation. If you've listened to Bruce Arians' comments closely, now, do I think today was the worst practice in 3 years for the Buccaneers? No. Now, it probably wasn't a great practice, but BA is going to keep needling his team, whether it's the offense, the defense, the kickers. He's not going to let these guys rest on their laurels of we were the champions last year. We're just going to coast to the playoffs this year. He's going to keep needling them. That's a sign of a good coach. You have to do that. You have to keep your finger on their neck and do not let these guys get complacent, especially after an off day. Again, I don't have any concern about the offense or the team. The guys, he's going to keep pushing them and keep staying on them as we head to the regular season.
All right, let's go out to Jamie here. He says they won't pull them during a drive, though.
No.
If it's 6 plays, Keith Robbins. Have you talked about Darden yet? I mean, we've been talking about Jalen Darden throughout this whole process. Yep. I mean, what are your thoughts on him? To me, I think he's probably the player that I'm looking forward to seeing the most, besides Joe Tryon, and both of those guys are rookies. And simply with Darden and his speed, I want to see him in those game time situations. And I also want to see the kind of impact he's going to make on special teams. What do you say?
Absolutely. I mean, he's the guy you want to see. We want to see how Jalen Darden plays against NFL pro players in pads. What he's doing in practice, yeah. Everybody's always going to say the draft picks are doing well. I want to see him against professional cornerbacks that don't know what route's coming. Can he run routes? Can he make tough catches in traffic? We know he can run fast in straight line. We want to see, can he run that 15-yard in route and make the catch when the safety's coming to try to hit him? That's what we want to see. We want to see Robert Hainsey, the offensive lineman, the high draft pick. Can he hold up at center? Because he's going to be the center of the future. He's going to be your Buccaneers center, I think, next year with Ryan Jensen out the door. I think that's what they're grooming him to be. I want to see, again, Tristan Wirfs continue to play well. Alex Stinney. I want to see Alex Kappa play well. Tryon, like you mentioned. I want to see these younger players play against other players in pressurized situations.
All right, some other things here of note. Vita Vea at 347 pounds. BA says he looks good, and this is in care of Pewter Report's John Ledyard. He almost got his weight where it needs to be. We had a nice target date of next Saturday, so I think he'll hit it. And, of course, he only has about 3 or 4 pounds to lose. He'll probably sweat it out today, so if he's smart, he'll go ahead and jump on that scale now. I've heard nothing but good things about Vea, and, of course, you hope that he can continue that momentum from that last postseason, because I tell you right now, he was a man among boys, and he is a big-time key component to this defensive line with those outside pass rushers, namely a JPP, a Shaq Barrett, and possibly a Joe Tryon.
Yeah, I mean, again, Vea is going to be a cornerstone piece for this team the next 5 or 6 years. Hopefully, we want to see another consistent year out of Vea. Stay healthy. He's had injury issues his first few years in the league. He's got to show the organization that he can play 15, 16, 17 games in order to get that next big contract. Because if he plays 16, 17 games, he's going to be a force. And again, his numbers won't always show up in tackles and sacks, but it's going to eat up guys so the other guys on the defensive line and linebackers can eat. So JPP can have the one-on-ones. Shaq Barrett and Ndamukong Suh, Joe Tryon. I think you're going to see Joe Tryon get mixed. And Arians has had some good things to say about Tryon, that he's given Wirfs some problems, Donovan Smith some problems in practice. And again, he's the guy you want to see against other offensive linemen.
Yeah,
that don't know what's coming.
Yeah, and you kind of wonder, what kind of impact he's going to make on this team, because look, he's a rookie, but you have JPP, you have Shaq, and now what you hear in practice, and take it for what it's worth, because they may be just trying out some things, but they're having all those guys on the field at the same time. So it certainly seems like they have some big plans. And when you have a guy like a JPP who's lauding him, saying that he's going to make some big plays in this league and he's going to do some things, it kind of makes you take notice, right, Jason?
It does. I mean, and again, injuries are going to happen for the Buccaneers. We were lucky last year that only Vita Vea was kind of the –
knock on that wood a little bit there. Knock on that wood when you say that.
Okay, here we go. Boom, boom, boom.
All right.
Yeah, Vita Vea was the major injury we had on the defensive side of the ball last year. At some point, JPP may need a break for a week or two for an injury. Shaq Barrett. So the beauty is that we don't have to have Joe Tryon play a big role. If he makes plays, great. But again, injuries are going to happen. There's going to be a time when somebody, whether it's Joe Tryon, whether it's KJ Britt at linebacker, whether it's one of these DBs, they're going to have to play. Same on the offense. Jalen Darden might get his opportunity due to injury to somebody, whether it's Scotty Miller, Evans, Godwin. That might be what opens up Jalen Darden to get his opportunity. So the depth on this team is what you want to create here in training camp with your younger players. And just to be quite honest, they're probably grooming them for next year more than anything else, because these same players that are on this team this year, veteran-wise, there's going to be some guys moving on after this year. No doubt about it. Say what we want. There are going to be some veteran guys because of salary cap issues and age and production that are going to be moving on after this year.
It's a good point. And, how excited are you about Antonio Brown? I mean, all we've heard is how impressive he's been in training camp. Yep. And we hear from BA today. He's running like he did 4 or 5 years ago with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, This could be trouble for the National Football League and the rest of the NFC, right?
Absolutely. I watched Antonio's press conference today. He was very humble. He didn't say anything that was about me. Everything was about the team, and thankful for the opportunity to come back for the Buccaneers. He knows, he understands that he has no room for error. There's no more leash. If he makes a mistake, he's gone. And guess what? He wants to be one of those guys that walk in Canton in 5 or 6 or 7 years, because he's got a Hall of Fame resume right now. He doesn't want to destroy his Hall of Fame candidacy by having a train wreck finish to his career. He understands he's got to have a solid finish to his career to be a guy who can be a Canton guy in 6, 7, 8 years from now.
Yeah, and Brown has the great opportunity of course, playing with the Tom Brady. He has also the opportunity to win the Super Bowl, so it strengthens that resume, if you will. Let's go around the NFL here, talk about big-time contracts. Were you surprised by the Buffalo Bills and their commitment to a Josh Allen who, look, he's played, had a good year last year, one bad year coming out of Wyoming, but up to $288 million. Is this a mistake, or is this the right thing to do by the Bills in committing to Allen as their franchise quarterback?
This is absolutely the right thing for Buffalo to do, because Buffalo and Josh Allen are a good fit. They love him in that town. He's getting better every year. That's what you want to see out of your quarterback. He's been able to play. He's been available. He was arguably this number 1. He was number 2 or number 3 in the MVP voting last year. Is he a finished product? No, but would you rather have Josh Allen than Lamar Jackson? I would. Would you rather have Josh Allen or Baker Mayfield? I would.
I agree with you on that, especially the year that he had last year with over 60% completion. In fact, over 65% completion, turning it around from the year before. Let's go out to the phone lines. Curtis from Newport Richie, you're on with yours truly, along with the power man, Mr. Jason Powers.
Baby. Yeah.
What do you have to say, Curtis?
Mr. Power Man, I have no disrespect towards you because you're a former player, but I'm going to get a boo for this. I effing hate Florida State. I'm sorry.
Come on now. You know what?
Listen, I love you guys.
No, Curtis. Here you go. Curtis, wait. You set yourself.
Talk to the ring, man. Talk to the ring.
Curtis, I love you. I love you. You're one of my favorite callers, but you got to get this one.
Shut up.
All right, go ahead.
I grew up in Nebraska watching Tommy Frazier and Lawrence.
Oh, okay.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but I got respect for Bobby Bowden. There's nothing but respect for that guy because 34 years. I mean, you know, people don't last that long at jobs anymore.
No,
I think. Listen, they're going to have to drag Nick Saban off the field in Alabama. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Nick Saban is the next Bobby Bowden and Joe Paterno. Period. There is nobody else. You know, I mean, maybe what's that guy, Dabo Sweeney?
I mean, that's another guy right there.
That's if he doesn't choose to walk away. Like Urban Meyer walks away, you know, every 5 years or something. Sure. So, you know, but the Hall of Fame was great. I was actually very impressed with Calvin Johnson.
You were impressed with Calvin Johnson? Why were you impressed?
And I'm not trying to be a stickler, but anybody who goes to the Hall of Fame from Detroit, they have a very short career.
Correct.
And they choose to have a short career. And, you know, there's a lot of people out there that says, you know, Barry Sanders would have broke all of Walter Payton's records.
He would have.
Emmitt Smith would have been an afterthought.
Right. He would have. I mean, that's the problem with the Lions organization. They don't put enough around their superstars. That's the reason why Matt Stafford left, because he didn't have a running game. I mean, can you imagine if you had Stafford, Barry Sanders, and Calvin Johnson? That's like a Madden Ultimate team. Sorry, Jason, I know you don't play, but that's
you know, for me, you know, Pete, I love my Bucs to death.
Sure.
Nobody other. But I'm a football fan. I'm actually a sports fan. I watch all sports. I watch golf, NASCAR, I watch it all. But that guy was the receiver of the NFL for like a 4 or 5 year period.
I agree.
When you talked about receivers, he was the guy. Like, that was it.
Do we all remember the game where he's playing the Bengals and you have 3 defenders guarding him and they still can't guard that guy? And how many Bucs fans, and I want to go out to Jason here really quick. Hold on, Curtis. Jason, did you think at the time, and Curtis, you can go ahead and chime in on this, that the Bucs were actually going to draft a Calvin Johnson? Because I didn't think the Lions were going to draft 3 straight wide receivers.
Yes, I was crying. Listen, sorry, Jason, I don't want to cut you off. I want to give you a spotlight. But there was 2 times the Lions screwed us, with Sue and with Johnson, and I just cried.
No, I mean, I'll be honest with you. When Calvin Johnson was coming out of school, he didn't have huge college stats coming out of Georgia Tech. He had the size and he had the potential.
He had 36 catches that season.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, at Georgia Tech when they ran the triple option, I really didn't even know much about Calvin Johnson when he came out other than he was a freak athlete.
Yes.
Go ahead, Curtis.
And wasn't it him? I missed the very beginning of it. Wasn't it him that said he had the back injury?
He did. First year.
Yep.
That was so scary, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Those are things that people don't know unless, you know what I'm saying? Like, and for him to just evolve into what he became, man.
Yep. I mean, they force-feeded him the ball. I mean, he was a hell of a receiver, and for him to stay healthy as long as he did, this guy is in the Hall of Fame at 35 years old. He retired at 30, coming off 8 straight 100-yard games in his last year in Detroit. Who does that?
I don't want to. You know, listen. You know, I don't like the Panthers because we're Bucs fans.
Sure.
That's the same thing I feel about Luke Kuechly, and it's the same thing I feel about Patrick Willis. These guys are so great. But and even Andrew Luck, but everybody's bodies can't take that beating.
No. And
it's a brutal game. Luke Kuechly had the concussion issues. He should have probably should have retired a year or so before when he did. As massive concussions and the information we now know about head injuries, I do worry about Luke Kuechly down the road.
But guys, look at the correlation here. They could have drafted Kuechly. They drafted Barron instead. Of course, you know, hindsight is 20/20, but at the time you needed a middle linebacker. Of course, I get it. You got a Levante David eventually, but you could have had a Kuechly. You could have also had a Calvin Johnson, because the story was, and it's funny because somebody mentions this dude looks like Gruden's brother. I want to go ahead and get that comment up there right now. Philly Flipper says that. So he's trying to say you look like John Gruden. But at the time, Gruden supposedly wanted to trade up for Calvin Johnson. And of course, he was told by the Buccaneer organization, we're going to go with Gaines Adams. We're going to give Monty Kiffin that. And of course, Gaines Adams didn't necessarily work out. Rest in peace. But Calvin Johnson, wow. What a
and then Steve Atwater. I'm gonna tell y'all a quick story about that guy.
Sure.
I will never forget the play in the Super Bowl where he knocked out his teammate, and the Green Bay Packers player. Okay. I've always, after that, I'm like, man, that guy is the scariest guy I've ever seen him. Because it's like he didn't care. Yeah. He literally went out there and put it all on the line every time.
Another great Steve Atwater story. Remember on Monday Night Football when he knocked Christian Okoye into next week and knocked him backwards about 8 or 9 feet when Christian Okoye was about 265-pound tailback who was the baddest dude in the league at the time.
Yes, man. Oh my God, man. I will say this is one of the greatest Hall of Fame crews I've seen going in a long time.
Better safety here, Curtis. Atwater or Lynch? Of course, we're kind of biased because we saw I saw Atwater too, but I still say Lynch.
I'm very biased. I'm definitely going to take Lynch, but I'm not going to lie to you guys, and I hate that I'm going to say this. I would have took Polamalu over both of them.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I think you could agree with that. Yeah.
Listen, and I honestly, besides Ronnie Lott, of course, the only other person that I would have took over Polamalu would have probably been Ed Reed. Period.
Well, Ed Reed, and somebody mentions here because he's a Philly guy. He said Megatron was a mistake, and he says Brian Dawkins. Dawkins was
he was a good player.
Yes.
Polamalu was the best though of those of this recent generation, other than Ed Reed, because Polamalu could run. Lynch wasn't very fast.
Right.
No, I love Brian Dawkins, but I'm gonna tell you something. He was a thumper.
Yeah,
he was.
He was a thumper. When it came to Polamalu and Ed Reed, those guys could do anything you needed them to do.
Agree.
Yes.
Anything. And when you put Ed Reed back there for punt returns, hold your breath.
Yes, sir.
This guy's going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great comments.
I'll tell you right now, John Lynch should have been a Hall of Famer a long time ago because if you do your research,
they should have put him and Barber in there together.
Well, the majority of his interceptions were game clinchers. So everybody will talk about Lynch and his speed and not necessarily having the athleticism as they should, but at the end of the day, the guy got it done, and he got it done in his era.
I've been cleaning up my house and listening to you guys the whole time. Let me tell you something. Everybody who watched that Super Bowl tape from the Bucs from Super Bowl 37, he basically set Dexter Jackson up to be the MVP of that game.
Oh yeah. I mean, he was saying it. He was going to Mike Tomlin at the time, who was a young coach, and of course now 15 years in with the Pittsburgh Steelers, you could definitely put him in the Hall of Fame. By the way, what a mistake to let him out of the building, huh? But he was telling Mike Tomlin at the time, these are the same plays that Gruden set us up for. These are the same plays that are being called in practice. They knew it.
And you know what? If I hear one more person say, well, it was set up for us to win, listen, it's not our fault that Bill Callahan was the jackass to run the same plays.
Right.
Previous coach installed into the offense.
Right. You still have to execute the plays. I mean, you may know them, but you still have to execute them, and they executed him with perfection. Good stuff, Curtis. Anything else, my friend?
Peyton Manning, I mean, he did what everybody expected for Peyton Manning.
Impressive, right? Would you watch that guy? Is he must-see TV? In your opinion, would he be better than a Tony Romo as an analyst? Because I love listening to him speak. He's definitely got personality. He's got humor. Yes.
I would love to see him, and this is going to sound weird, I'd love to see him and Drew Brees together.
Wow.
On TV.
That'd be interesting. Drew Brees doesn't strike me as a guy that has that personality, but who knows? I didn't necessarily think it would.
That's right. The thing about Drew Brees. We don't know anything about him except for he gets his team pumped up for the game on Sunday.
Sure.
That's it.
I love Peyton Manning, though. I think Peyton Manning would be a great analyst, but I tell you right now, the way he was speaking about the NFL and its longevity and the future, that sounds like a commissioner to me eventually. Who knows? What do you think, Curtis?
Yeah, but you listen, the same thing I said about Saban, you're going to have to drag Roger Goodell out of there. That guy ain't going nowhere.
We'll see. We'll see what happens here going into the future. But really quick, who are you looking for more to see out of the rookies? Jalen Darden or Joe Tryon, and why?
Well, I actually have a couple comments on that.
Okay,
First,
go for it.
I'm not even really interested in this preseason game.
Not at all. Not in Cincinnati. No Joe Burrow,
really.
by the way. He's not going to play. Of course.
Not really.
Okay.
Because I mean, it's the first preseason game, and things are going to be rusty. And I just.
So you're not going to be calling my show on Saturday night saying I'm about to jump off the Skyway Bridge, Pete, because this offense struggled. You're not going to be doing that.
And see, I'm not going to say that because, like I said, I was listening to y'all earlier.
Right.
I was listening to you with Leo earlier, and all I want to say is we're talking about practice.
Oh, you're going Allen Iverson on me. Okay.
We're not even talking about the actual game.
Right.
Because listen, if you don't have bad practices, how the hell do you know you're getting better or not?
It's true.
Curtis, I'm gonna give you a name to watch in this game Saturday night. Ryan Griffin, because in my opinion, Ryan Griffin is going to be a trade target for some team in this league. The Bucs aren't keeping 4 quarterbacks, and a team like Indianapolis, who has a quarterback issue, Ryan Griffin is a guy that can come play for 4 or 5 games until Carson Wentz potentially gets healthy. So I think Ryan Griffin is going to be showcased these first couple of weeks as possible trade bait for somebody in the league who needs a backup quarterback.
I'll give you another one. I'm ready to see what Keyshawn Vaughn is going to do.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think he's going to get opportunities, right? I mean, because you're not going to necessarily play your 1 and 2 running backs in a Jones and a Fournette. You're most likely going to play a Giovanni Bernard, a Keyshawn Vaughn. And I'll tell you another guy I think a lot of Bucs fans are looking forward to seeing. That's a Kyle Trask. And he's going to get an opportunity. You know what Blaine Gabbert and Ryan Griffin have, but you don't know what this kid has. He'll have every opportunity. Why not throw him out there in this preseason game, in these game time situations, and see what he can do?
Peter, I got to tell you guys this too, man. I am the biggest Tanner Hudson fan in the world. I don't know why. I just love that kid. That kid, he just goes out there and he plays the game.
Yeah.
And he looks like he's having a good time. I love that guy. And, I know we got Gronk and Brate and OJ in front of him. I just wish he could get a better opportunity, man.
Well, who knows? He may get a knock on wood, but who knows? He may get an opportunity depending on, the injury prowess, if you will, of this tight end position with an OJ Howard. And, of course, Gronk stayed healthy yesterday, but Cameron Brate coming off the PUP list today. So we'll see how this works out, but I definitely think you're going to see some Tanner Hudson in this preseason. Now, will that correlate?
The last thing I have to say is I think I heard you say Jason doesn't play Madden. If they don't stop disrespecting Carlton Davis.
Really? Come on. You disrespect Carlton Davis. You disrespect Mike Evans. You disrespect Donovan Smith. Donovan Smith is a friggin' 73. Come on. Go back to the drawing board, Madden.
Now, I'm not
ridiculous.
Mad at Tristan Wirfs is like an 88.
Right, but Donovan Smith is a 73. If that were true, he would have got Tom Brady killed last year. What are you talking about? A guy on the offensive line can't be an 88 in his second year and the other guy be a 73. That makes no freaking sense at all. And on top of it, it ruins my Madden game. I'm not going to be able to play Madden because I'm going to have to put 2 or 3 tight ends out there because Brady's going to get killed in the game.
Here's my last question for both of you guys.
Yes.
I know that let you go, but I'm gonna continue watching because I'll probably call back.
Sweet.
What do you think about the Dak Prescott?
I think it's a Dak Prescott arm injury. I think it's a lot more serious than people are leading on, and I think it could be already foreshadowing of things to come.
I absolutely.
Load the wagon on the Buccaneers minus the 6.5. Load the wagon.
So it's going to be over. It's going to be a blowout. What you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. He's taking it right here. My gambling
because with Prescott's not going to play it down in the preseason, coming off of a year he didn't play it down. And the Cowboy defense being very much in transition, the Bucs are going to score at least 38.
And I keep telling people, they're like, "Well, what about Zeke?" Man, do you remember this is like the number 1 run defense the last 3 years?
Right.
Who the hell is Zeke? What has he done lately since he signed his contract?
He's done absolutely nothing.
Oh, yeah.
The buffet line.
He's fumbled the ball more than he had touchdowns. That's right.
Well, Jason, he goes back to a great point here. He was talking to the reporter, I believe was Aaron Andrews, on the sideline about his diet. And this was a thing. Like, he's cut down. He's got a better diet. It's like, look, man, you got this big time contract and you're not on a diet already. You're not. I don't understand this. He's highly talented And it's almost like whenever he got that big time contract extension, he has declined not only yards per carry, but fumbling the ball. I mean, he's not what he used to be. I'm sorry. That offense does not scare me when you're talking about Zeke. Now, maybe the wide receivers do, but the running back, not so much.
Zeke's not a guy that I get the impression that loves football. He likes the joys and the compensation related to football. I don't get the sense that Zeke Elliott wants to be the best running back in the league. He wants to be good, and he's gotten his check, which is now he's got the financial security. I just don't get the sense that Zeke wants to be an all-time great.
He likes the show. He likes the
Yes.
show. He's a show off.
Yeah.
Now, Peter, I'm going to go, but I got to ask Jason one question. Me and Peter have already had this question.
Yeah, sure, Jason, go ahead.
Why is the Dallas Cowboys the only team in the NFL with 4 $100 million players?
That's a great question. Jerry Jones likes to pay the fellas. DeMarcus Lawrence is a garbage $100 million player. He would never have gotten paid that anywhere else. Amari Cooper, you can justify 2 or 3 years, but to give him 5 years and $100 million, that's tough to swallow.
Thank you. Zeke, you gave Zeke $90 million. And
I agree.
I don't even want to talk about Dak and his Patrick Mahomes money because he's definitely not worth it. I'm sorry.
I agree with that too. I don't think you have to pay the quarterback. I hate to say it because of the marketplace, because who do you have to replace him? But Dak Prescott ain't a $40 million a year quarterback.
Listen, that DeMarcus Lawrence contract is worse than the Gerald McCoy contract in Tampa.
Whoa.
I agree.
McCoy,
I agree.
With the Las Vegas Raiders and John Gruden, so we'll see how that works out.
But Pete, what I'm saying is
right.
they gave that guy all that money because he had 11 sacks one year.
Sure,
I agree.
This guy has done absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
As a force off the end,
right?
Since they paid him.
And you know what people are going to say? Well, he hasn't had enough around him. Wait a minute. You're paying them big time money. He's supposed to make an impact. He's supposed to make players around him better, and he hasn't done that. In fact, the defense was awful last year.
And see what pisses me off with them is I already hate Dallas. You basically took Van Der Esch, his career. You might as well get rid of him because you just drafted this kid Micah Parsons, who is great. I love that kid.
Yep.
You already have Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith, so you just drafted another linebacker.
Yeah.
Well, that makes you feel like that tells you what they think of Jalen Smith and Van Der Esch right now, that they're declining big time.
Well, and then you can't even talk about the rest of the team because they still have Randy Gregory on the team, which I don't know why.
Well, he's the Sir Smoke a Lot. That's why.
Absolutely. Then they bought in Alden Smith last year. I'm like, I thought that guy was in jail. Like, where did they get him from? Like, are you serious?
To that fact, to be fair, Alden Smith was somewhat productive last year.
He was.
It's sad though, because here's a guy.
He was great when he first came into the league.
Yes, here's a guy that has all the potential.
Best ever.
Right? Yeah. I know.
Dallas is the place for second chance renegades. I mean, in all seriousness, Jerry Jones's history has been to give these guys that have been in a lot of trouble another opportunity.
It's almost like he's the Al Davis of the National Football League without the success.
I was going to say the Raiders, but I was going to say is Dallas the new Cleveland?
I hope not for Cowboy fans. I mean, with that big time contract extension, they got Dak Prescott. And again, I get what you're saying, Jason. You got to sign a guy, but Tom Brady has shown you don't necessarily have to sign for the most money because at the end of the day, you help your team out. I get it. There's a quarterback market, but it makes it more difficult for that team to put players around them. That's been my only scare about, signing a Josh Allen, signing a Dak Prescott, signing a Russell Wilson, and to hear Wilson in this offseason talk about, well, he doesn't have enough offensive linemen or enough good players around him. Hey, if you take less money or maybe redo your deal, I don't know, maybe you give your team some flexibility. Just a thought.
Well,
I don't know.
I kind of like the Josh Allen contract because listen, this kid is their second leading rusher.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna tell you something.
Is that a good thing? Is that a good thing for a quarterback?
He's their Jim Kelly.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, Lamar Jackson led the league damn near rushing 2 years ago.
Right. And he'll probably be the next one that gets paid, him or Baker Mayfield. That's the talk. But, these guys, they've won nothing at this point. And then when you put a big-time albatross, Leo word, of a contract, then, again, that hinders that team from going out there and getting players around them. That's what I've said.
Peter, I'm going to ask Jason the question you asked me.
Go for
it. Jason, how do you feel about the bird right in the NFL for quarterbacks?
The what now? The birthright?
The bird.
The bird. What about the bird?
You know how they have the bird in the NBA for the
right. Like the bird where they can pay him way more than everybody. I gotcha. Right. Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad idea to do that in the NFL because that is the glamour position in that league. That drives the television ratings, the broadcasting rights, is we all want to see the quarterback play. So it wouldn't shock me if they put that in place at some point to where the quarterback can be kind of exempt from the salary cap in order to pay them what they need to pay them. That's a great idea. That's a great suggestion.
Because it was Peter's idea, and I thought it was great when he asked me.
Yep.
And, Brady's worth $40 million, but he doesn't want $40 million.
Right.
But to me, there's 3 quarterbacks in the NFL worth $40 million. You got Wilson, you got Mahomes, you got Rodgers. Nobody else should be making $40 million.
And yet they are, and you're going to see what the consequences are. Again, I don't mind somebody getting paid. I've just seen in the past, you've seen this in the past with a Joe Flacco, a Matt Ryan, where you have to lose players eventually. And when does that happen? Is the general manager and the organization, they have to get creative. And I get it. Jerry Jones has all this money, but eventually it's not going to necessarily pay off, especially if you're not winning division titles and Super Bowls. So
that's why he lost his best corner to Miami.
There you go.
He wanted to pay everybody but him.
Right. And how did that work out?
That's why their secondary was 32nd in the league last year.
There you go. So
you're right. No, it's the key to the drafting of players is more and more important. Player development of the younger guys, being able to find those hidden gems as free agents or as low round draft picks where you can have them for 3 or 4 years at low cost.
Yeah,
yep.
Exactly.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, good stuff, Curtis. Let me go ahead and give you that whoa. Whoa! All right, my friend. You came
Great job, Curtis.
Good stuff, my friend. Thank you very much.
Great job.
Back a little bit if you're still on.
All right. Sounds good, Curtis. Appreciate the call. There you go. Curtis from Newport Richie, one of my favorite webheads. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. We're live on NSPN. And, of course, I Love St. Pete. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with the Power Man himself.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Jason Powers on Sports Podcast. I want to wrap this up with you here because you've stayed here an extended period of time. I really appreciate your time.
Anytime, man.
Around the NFL a little bit. What do you think about the Deshaun Watson situation? 10 criminal complaints. We hear that the Eagles and Texans are hot and heavy on a trade possibility. And now we heard from Jay Glazer the other night that basically they're not taking any phone calls. What do you make of this weird situation that just keeps on getting just more and more peculiar by the minute?
I think you will see Deshaun Watson traded within 2 days after the NFL makes their decision of what they're going to do with him. Until the NFL either suspends him or puts him on the exempt list, nothing's going to happen. But the moment they suspend him, I think a team's going to trade for him because they'll have a definite knowledge of when he's going to be available. Is it 6 games? Is it 8 games that he's going to get suspended? Who knows? Is it no games? Is he going to be exonerated? We don't know. But until the NFL makes a determination of his status, there's going to be no trade for Deshaun Watson. But as soon as that happens, you're going to see Denver, you're going to see Philadelphia in the mix to make a trade for Deshaun Watson. He will not play another down as the Houston Texans quarterback.
I don't think he plays another down as a Houston Texan quarterback, but furthermore, I don't think he plays another down this year. In fact, I think the NFL will suspend him for the full year. He does not get traded. Most likely he'll be on the Texans until next year. It may be 2 years because you're not going to hear from this guy with his deposition until after the Super Bowl. And, some of these allegations, which I get it, they're allegations, but they're also criminal complaints. This is bad PR by the NFL. I cannot see them taking an easy on him. It would be a PR nightmare and a backlash. Let's go out to the Colts here. Carson Wentz, Quentin Nelson, both of them have a same foot injury. What is more costly for them, Wentz or Nelson? Go.
Oh, Wentz. I mean, Quentin Nelson's an all-pro player, but you can find a guard to fill in the role adequately enough for Quentin Nelson. Wentz is for sure, especially when you have Jacob Eason as the most experienced guy behind him who has no NFL experience. That's why I think if Ryan Griffin might be a guy that if the Colts realize that Carson Wentz is going to be out into week 5 or week 6 of the regular season, I could see a scenario in 2 weeks where Ryan Griffin were to get traded to a place like Indianapolis because he could learn that offense pretty quick and be functional for week 1. I could see the Colts making a deal because I don't think Nick Foles is going to Indianapolis. I don't think the Colts are gonna go down that road again. But I could see a guy like who's a low cost option like Ryan Griffin be a guy that has some experience and could play for the Indianapolis Colts for 3 or 4 weeks.
What about the man with 1,000 kids and a Phillip Rivers? I mean, could you see him coming back? He's been talking about it, and would that be a better option at this juncture because he knows that Frank Reich offense instead of maybe a Jacob Eason who's younger. I get it. He's younger. He's got potential. But Phillip Rivers, are you buying that?
I'm not because I don't think Phillip Rivers would come in to be a 4-week quarterback. If he came in, it would be under the impression that he's going to be the starting quarterback for the entire year. And I don't think the Colts are going to sit Carson Wentz behind a guy like Phillip Rivers. And you're going to have to pay Rivers a decent salary. And the Colts probably don't have $10 million of salary cap space to pay Phillip Rivers to play 8 or 9, 10 games, whatever the number is. So now what I could see happen is if a team was in desperate need in November of a player, I could see Phillip Rivers be ready in November to come play the last 5 or 6 weeks of a season to lead a team potentially in a playoff run type situation. But I don't think Phillip Rivers will be in Indianapolis at the start of the year.
All right, good stuff. Jason Powers, the Power Man himself. Go ahead and promote yourself here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television.
Powers on Sports podcast. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Google. We're doing a Bobby Bowden tribute this week. It's going to be the podcast theme is about all things Bobby Bowden. I've got some interesting guests that are going to talk about Bobby in different phases of his career, things like that. So check out the podcast. Probably will be released on Wednesday. Again, Powers on Sports podcast. We're going to have you on, Peter, as we get closer to the NFL season to talk all things NFL throughout the year. College football is starting up. We're going to have a college football preview in a couple of weeks as well. So lots of good things on the podcast. And again, Peter, anytime you need me on the show, I'm there for you, my man.
All right, Jason Powers, better quarterback, Charlie Ward, Chris Weinke, or Jameis Winston, Florida State?
People don't realize if Charlie Ward would have been in this era of football where it was fast break offense, no huddle, he would have been a star in the National Football League.
Absolutely agree with you, Mr. Jason Powers. Coming strong to the mic. Let me go ahead and give it to you again. Yeah. Appreciate your time here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. All right, boss?
Anytime you need me, man, I'm there for you.
All right, there you go. Former Florida State Seminole walk-on, Mr. Jason Powers. Wasn't that cool to learn a little bit of insight about Bobby Bowden? I think so. That's why we had him on. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let's go ahead and go on to these comments. Philly Flipper. Lynch was an animal. Would have not been allowed to play in today's game is soft. Agree with that. I'll go ahead and give you a vote on that. Let's go out to Troy Polamalu, King Troy, Trojan Legend SC. You won't see players like me anymore. Cupcake League. I think that you're talking about Lynch. Philly Flipper, who I guess is a new guy here. Thanks a lot for tuning into the Evolution here on YouTube. Hines Ward and Troy both feared. Laugh out loud. It's crazy to say, but Hines Ward was feared as an offensive player. Not only a wide receiver, but at some points a quarterback, right? Absolutely. You didn't go there with my guy, Yoho. I don't know what that means. Troy Polamalu, King Troy, Trojan Legend, Ryan Griffin. Philly Flipper, you can put Peter Griffin back there, and it doesn't matter. They're garbage. I don't know who. I guess he's talking about the Bucs there. The Bucs are going to pick everyone at the halfway point for sure. Sandra Nagel watching the best sports talk show in the Tampa Bay area, the Sports Web with I Love St. Pete and NSPN, the Next Gen Sports Media Network. Awesome job. Thank you very much. Woo! Of course, that being my mother and my future agent. Go ahead and friend her on Facebook. Let's see. The Bucs will repeat. I agree. Philly Flipper says, Jason, make sure you lean up and scream into the mic. My headphones appreciate that. Yep, that's Gruden. Troy says Zeke Cooper and Lamb will smoke that Bucs defense. I don't think so at all.
Shut up!
The offensive line cannot block, and they can't block a Shaq Barrett or JPP or a Vita Vea or Ndamukong Suh. I'm sorry, they will not smoke them at all. Obviously, Troy Polamalu, King Troy, Trojan Legend SC, you have not watched this Bucs defense shut down running backs. In fact, I think the only running back that had some success, if you will, the last couple of years would have to be King Henry from Tennessee. And he didn't even have 100 yards of rushing. So come on. Enough with that. I know you're trolling me, by the way. So I just opened my kitchen window and just heard Jason Powers. That's why he's the power man. There's not many guys who will want a discount. And that's why Tom Brady is great. And that's why his teams continue to consistently compete. And that's why Bucs fans should be lucky to have Tom Brady, because he was able to redo his contract and get everybody signed. And that's why the Bucs will have an opportunity. And I go back to it. The reason why that relationship fell off in New England is because so many years Brady took less money to give the opportunity for other players to stay there. And then basically the Patriots did nothing by providing him the weapons that he needed. So he was doing everything for them, and they weren't doing anything for him. That's what it comes down to. All right. Yep, he just blew it out there. Another set of headphones. Chris says, here's a stat for you. The Bucs have more playoff wins than the Cowgirls since 1995. Heck, they probably had more just last year than the Cowgirls. That's true. We need to sign Deshaun Watson to Tampa, our future quarterback. No. Not with the NFL and not with the allegations. I'm sorry. He's highly talented, but with all those allegations, I'm telling you right now, on August 9th, 2021, Deshaun Watson is not playing it down in the National Football League this year, period. Enough with the trade talk. The Texans can ask for 50 draft picks, but there's a team out there that's not willing to give it. And then on top of it, if you're a team that says he's talented, do you want those red flags? Do you want to take that chance to where basically the NFL puts them on the exempt list? Not me. You got to sell that to your community. And I get it. The Eagles have done it in the past with Michael Vick. Totally different here, guys. Totally different. Numerous allegations, criminal complaints, and a sexual nature. A pattern of behavior. It's not a good look. I'm telling you. What about Wilson? What about Wilson? Thanks, Curtis. Philly Flipper says, I want to wrap this because you blew out all my speakers. Free Watson screwed the Texans. It's not about free Watson. You know, I get upset about this because here's a young man that is highly talented, but still signed a contract extension with the Houston Texans, even when they got rid of his number one weapon. Now, does that make any sense at all? Make any sense? And then you find out about the allegations. Again, they're allegations. It's a lot. So I don't feel sorry for Watson. I don't. Watson needs to be in prison with Cosby. Well, Cosby's out now, but I saw you at Publix buying rotisserie chicken. You did? We didn't want Vic. Well, you guys signed him. I get drink discounts when I mention the sports web at Isla del Sol. Well, that's cute. I'm good. I'm happy for you on that. That's good. Woo! I don't know necessarily exactly what that means. Let's go. I guess you go out to the deck. Is that what you're saying? We get discounts when you mention. Okay, good. Awesome. All right, let's go out to the New Orleans Saints. Michael Thomas reportedly spent much of the offseason ignoring calls from the team checking in on the status of his ankle injury. In fact, he put it off. So that's why he's not going to be playing for the Saints until week 7. That's a problem. Thomas was initially advised by the Saints medical staff to have the ankle surgery immediately after the Saints postseason came to an end. But after getting a second opinion, he decided to try a more conservative approach and see if the ankle would heal without surgery. That didn't work. It's amazing. I mean, you have doctors for some reason. I mean, I get it. A doctor's not perfect at the end of the day. They're team doctors. Hello. You work for the team. You have a contract. You want to play for them anymore? Obviously not. Not by the actions. It's going to heal itself. Well, sure it will. Okay. Didn't seem like it did. Not a good situation. Thomas ultimately had the surgery in June. The recovery time from the surgery will cause Thomas to miss several games at the start of the season, and Peyton said recently that Thomas should have had the surgery earlier. Uh-oh. You pissed off the head coach. If Thomas had stayed in touch with the team over the offseason, the determination that he needed the surgery might have been made earlier, and he might have recovered in time for the regular season. Instead, Thomas disappeared for much of the offseason, and now the Saints won't have him start the season. It's clear the Saints aren't happy with that. So is there an opportunity there for the Saints to trade a guy like this? Again, right? Big time contract extension, big time main weapon, doesn't want to be with the team anymore. He pulled a Scottie Pippen. He decided to take his sweet ass time and not have surgery. And now basically he's cost his team. Oh, people say, well, he didn't want to play for the Saints. You signed a contract. It's a contract. I don't know where we're at here. Are we on the Twilight Zone? Oh, I feel sorry for Deshaun Watson because he signed a big-time contract extension. Why? He signed it. Nobody put a gun to his head to sign the contract. The Texans were a dumpster fire in the first place. Thomas, we've heard this the last couple years, that he's had a problem. And obviously, it's coming to the surface, so we'll see how that works out. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Philly Flipper says, that's cute. Laugh out loud. Merry Christmas, Peter. Thank you. I appreciate that. And this is what I got for you.
Shut up!
Peter needs to be the new Billy Mays selling Flexil. Well, I'm glad you're watching there, Philly Flipper. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot for tuning in, as always. Or for the first time. I like that. Let's see here. People should think about all the women, not about what's going to happen with Watson. He needs to be in jail. If these allegations are true. It's a big if. But of course, the NFL has to do their due diligence. But we've heard about this before. We've heard that the NFL is going to take a stand against it. So I cannot fathom, in all the years that I've watched football, that the NFL is going to take it easy on him because he is a talented superstar. I can't do it. So again, if the Texans are asking for 3, 4, 5, hell, make it 6 first-round picks, why would a team out there give up all those first-round picks on a player that they don't even know is going to play for the full year? Play any games at all. And all people tell me, oh, well, I feel sorry for Watson because he signed a contract extension. You knew the team was going to be a dumpster fire when you signed it, when they got rid of DeAndre Hopkins for a box of balls. I mean, what did they get in that pick, in that trade? Should have told you everything you need to know. Hello? So enough with the contract extensions and all this other stuff. Are you concerned about the Bucs going into this preseason? I'm not concerned about it. I was kind of surprised that you're going to see Tom Brady in some of these starters. But I'm curious to see how long they play, of course, because you have your franchise quarterback coming off of a knee injury. So you don't want him to take a hit, obviously. Besides that, Maybe some more motivation for Tom Brady. In fact, let's go out to Bill Belichick. He is definitely the best quarterback I've coached against. There have been quarterbacks who've called their own plays, but it was nowhere near the same as what he did. He basically called every play by adjusting and or changing the play once he saw what the defense was doing. He excelled at using the cadence and recognizing blitzes, and more than any one single offensive player, he forced us to change and adapt defensive game plans. And that's Bill Belichick, of course, coach of the New England Patriots, and his talk of Peyton Manning. Now, he said coached against. I get it. He's never coached against a Tom Brady, but don't you think that motivates a Tom Brady on October 3rd? Oh, you better believe it does. Again, that rivalry with a Peyton Manning and a Tom Brady, with Brady winning that 11-6 in those 17 opportunities. And now he sees that. Bulletin board material all day long. It's a big game on October 3rd. Big time hype. First time that Brady will meet Belichick. I guarantee you Belichick will probably change his tune. Maybe he won't. Who knows? 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. So I'm just going to wrap it up here. Guys, it's been great to have you here on the show. Thanks a lot for all the calls and all the guests, as always. Mr. Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions. And, of course, the Power Man himself, Mr. Jason Powers, Powers on Sports Podcast. We'll be back this week. I think Friday night we'll have Dennis Phillips on and some other guests getting you ready for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in their first preseason game versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Do three things for me on this Monday night. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Have a great night.
Hey, Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.